After completing the Gaia's Vigil quest that came with the Plains of Eidolon, you will need to then form the blueprints, because the actual blueprint to put them together is given to you at the end of the quest. The parts are inside of Konzu's Bounties, and you have a slight chance of actually dropping one of these. Quickly jumping out of the way here, her abilities look amazing. I'm really looking forward to see how Splintering Storm works here, because all these Sandana looking things shatter off her and become like a shield that damages enemies. Kind of, that's not exactly right. We will get more into her abilities once I've leveled her up. Her Uber here, I'm really looking forward to looking at that. One thing I didn't realise, 1.15 sprint speed is actually pretty quick. That, as well as 125 armor and 150 energy. The 100 health and the 100 shields are her starting thing. She will probably get up to 300 by the time you get her to level 30, but damn, that's a good starting point. The better starting point, of course, as we see Limbo wandering around in the background there, the D polarity isn't such a good thing here. Your choices are fairly limited to the armor mod, which is, yep, Stand United. Rejuvenation, which is in here, which is health. Regen, physique, which increases health, but useless to begin with, because throwing this in here, 118. Wow, it gives you 18 extra health. Rejuvenation's probably better. EMP auras against Corpus, and Infested is against, well, the Infested. So Infested impedance is going to be useless in the Plains, which is where a lot of this update and a lot of this frame is going to come into its own. And same with the Corpus one here. These are going to be pretty useless for now anyway. But the two V polarities, yeah, there are a lot of decent V polarity mods. Let's start with our abilities. The first ability is actually better than it was when I first started using her. I'm not sure if there was a change or not, but well, that pretty much said it right there. It's actually killing things. When you first start using her, this thing will basically knock down higher level enemies and just kind of push them out the way. It still does that higher level enemies, but most of the time, you see, it just kind of pushes them out the way. Great for defense missions. You can also shoot it straight at them for a little bit extra damage, but to be fair, I prefer using it in the swipe function. I will admit, with the second ability, Splinter Storm, I didn't remember at first that you can actually cast this on allies, because it kind of acts a little bit like a shield. What is it? Allies who contact the cloud are fortified against damage. Words exactly from the ability's description. If you cast it on an enemy, it will damage them and their weapons. It is kind of really useful. I only wish you could cast it on the pod in a defense mission. Her third ability, SPECTRORAGE, it traps enemies in a, I think it says carousel of mirrors. I would have just called it a circle of mirrors, but carousel does sound better, forcing them to attack their own reflection. And once they damage the mirror enough, it will deal damage back to them, and when it collapses, it will deal more damage. I think it's an AoE type damage. Quite a useful ability, kind of like Loki's decoy, if Loki's decoy actually shot at enemies, dealing maybe just a little bit of damage, but all damage does actually help. Mass VITRIFY, her fourth ability, or however that is actually pronounced, creates an expanding ring of molten glass that will eventually, if an enemy is running through it as you are casting it, it slows them down and kind of puts a layer of glass around them, which is really useful. Once it has reached its max, it, as it says, hardens to block weapon fire. Sometimes will actually stop enemies from running through it, but every now and then they seem to find a crack and come through it anyway, which is kind of weird. Using her first ability, Shattered Lash, will actually shatter it, sending razor sharp glass flying outwards towards enemies, so you can actually deal damage to them using this on kind of an AoE as well, assuming it all goes in all directions, not just the direction you are looking. And this was made even better in 22.0.5 because now, instead of it being a fixed circle that goes out, it actually goes downwards to the ground. So if you are standing on again, something you are defending, the circle will go down to the ground. Not all the way, it does still have a radius of its downwards as well as sideways, so it won't just reach the ground from no matter how high you are. And I did test that. It's still very useful because beforehand when you cast it, it just kind of threw a circle to wherever you were standing, whereas now it will actually go down to the ground, making it a much better ability. They actually described this one as, oh, what was it? Frost's Snow Globe and Nova's fourth ability, Molecular Prime. Which, in a way, it kind of is, and this was the ability I was looking forward to, and to be fair, it didn't disappoint. Her first ability grew to be a pretty decent ability. Splintering Storm, once you remember you can cast it on allies, is also really useful. SPECTRORAGE, again, it's more useful than it sounds, trapping enemies and kind of acting as a decoy that deals damage back to people who attack it. And VITRIFY, I still don't think that's right. Her fourth ability, that is also really useful. The frame itself does look pretty nice, the abilities are absolutely amazing, and the passive of, what was it called? A charge to create a radial blind when exposed to bright light. Yeah. That one has always been weird. I just thought that there was an Excalibur using radial blind, and turned out that it was her passive ability, which came in useful as well. If you run melee, a lot of the time you will find yourself performing finishers randomly for absolutely no reason. That's her passive. She charges a radial blind when exposed to bright light. And when it comes down to an actual build for her, I've polarized a V and a D onto her. Probably going to need a dash soon, but I'm trying to build her for duration, which of course means prime continuity and that other one I mentioned earlier. But anyway, we'll leave this off here for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch yous next time.